are you feeling tonight? Good. Yeah, Ria, I love the positivity. Good stuff. So welcome to this week's session. This is on product development. We've had a number of sessions run since September, and today's on product development. And we are really pleased to have two guest speakers who are workplace leaders in product development. So I will introduce them, and then they're going to come here and join me on the stage. All right. So first off, we have Peida Mtongerwa. So Peida is the head of product development at Surface Scale Holdings, leading innovation, R&D, and brand development across a diverse portfolio. And that includes the flagship brand Cupids. She has over a decade of experience in beauty, fragrance, and personal care. And she combines scientific expertise with strategic leadership to deliver products all the way from the concept to global launch. Starting a career as a cosmetic scientist and formulation chemist, Peida has built a strong foundation in science before moving into product development. And today she oversees formulation, packaging, compliance, supplier partnerships, manufacturing, and international launches across the US, UK, EU, Australia, and Canada, so quite global. And she is passionate about creating purpose, and she's dedicated to solving consumer problems and supporting entrepreneurs. So welcome on stage, Peida. And Peida is joined by Robin Ida. So Robin is a seasoned product developer with over 10 years of experience across apparel, beauty, home, and fragrance. She began her career at Next, gaining hands-on experience in large-scale production during an industrial placement in Sri Lanka, another global experience. After graduating with first-class honors in clothing design and technology from Manchester Metropolitan University, she worked with Mountain Equipment and Food Asylum before moving into beauty with L'Oreal. Robin later advanced to senior product developer in private label cosmetics, helping launch 5 brands, including Glow Hub, now sold in major retailers such as Selfridges and Sephora here in the UK. She combines creativity with structure, and she thrives in fast-paced environments, and is also very passionate about leadership, mentoring, and bringing ideas to life. So join your hands together and let's welcome Robin. Good. So thank you so much, Peida and Robin. I know in the past sessions we've sort of like had this arrangement where we have someone come speak and share a deck of slides perhaps, but today we're going to have a fireside chat, and it's just going to be a conversation, and hopefully through this you're going to learn lots about product development. So I know a lot of you are developing products, you're developing services, you're designing new things to take to market, and we have here professional leaders that have been doing it so for over 10 years in different industries and sectors. So yeah, it's a pleasure to have you today. So as part of your introduction, I know spoken about a bit about you guys, but if you could tell us about your current and your past leadership roles in product development.
Hello? Okay. Well, for myself, I would say my leadership roles are mainly cross-functional leadership roles. As a product developer in like a company, you're kind of like the linchpin of everything that's going to go on around a project. So it's really for you to be leading, managing that project, and making sure that it comes through to fruition, that you're meeting all the kind of milestones and stage gates along the way. So you'll be touching in every single different department. So you'll be working with designers, you'll be working with production, you'll be working with possibly labs, regulations, testing, all these different types of departments within the company. You'll need to have knowledge of what it is that they do so that you can make sure that the jobs are being done correctly and that everything is going to be signed off for that product in time. So my leadership is usually around that, and also working with junior members of the team, like training those to be product developers as well. So for me, I really get a lot out of that. I really like to help kind of like nurture and shape people and kind of teach them the tips that I've learned along my career so they don't have to learn them for themselves the hard way. So it's really great to, like kind of pass on that knowledge when you're training junior members of staff as well.
So for me, mine has changed throughout my career. So as you said, I started as a cosmetic scientist. So I was a junior level at that point, but I still had interns. So I was learning as well as training them. In this role, I was teaching by example. We would work together, we would make things together. So we would learn together, but I guess was their leader in that aspect because I had more experience and they were coming to learn for uni. So that was a nice experience in terms of just working with, I guess, people who are similar in age compared to then my managers who are older than me, and learning together in that aspect. I also had the opportunity to then work with them to help them develop their careers and figure out what it is they want to do. Because some people came in and they did from pharmacy and decided if they wanted to do cosmetics or if they wanted to go into compliance. Those are the options you can do when you come into cosmetic scientists, if you can go into the regulation aspect of it, or you can be in the lab itself making products. So it was helping people kind of decide what their career paths were, and that's what I liked in terms of that role for leadership. And then from there, I moved into product development, which is taking myself out of the lab and then working with brands from concept through to launching their products. Whereas in the lab, I was only part of kind of the product life cycle. So I would be given a brief by the brands to physically make products. Whereas now in the product development manager role that I'm in, I'm working with the brands to come up with their concepts, part of the R&D, do innovation, looking at branding and marketing, taking it right through to doing the briefs for the cosmetic scientists, and then taking that through to the project management element of it, which is working with the suppliers, sourcing, packaging, design, as Robin mentioned, and then just working with the supply chain and logistics team to make sure that everything gets sent to all of the warehouses. So in terms of leadership, when it comes to product development manager role, you're seeing everything come to life and you're working with every single department. So your leadership skills there are tested in terms of working with multiple different categories, different people, different ways of working for people in terms of how they learn or in terms of how they function, being able to understand everybody's role and function as well so that you can give briefs to everyone. In the product development manager role as well, you have to look at all of the timelines. So from concept through to launch, you're working towards a deadline and making sure you're working back and everything is coming into line. All the milestones are being hit at that time, if not being able to escalate that with all of the stakeholders. So I'm like, it's a big role, but it's great because you get to touch every point of the product life cycle. And then in terms of leadership, again, you're working with multiple teams. You're also then working with your CEOs or like your accountants, everyone. Yeah, so there's different levels of people that you're working with. So again, my leadership role changes depending on who I'm communicating with in the business. And that's just led me to where I am now in the head of product development. So I predominantly work with my CEOs or the CEO, like head of finance. And then I work with the designers, with the suppliers. It's, again, different levels of conversations and communications. But again, being the linchpin within the business because you touch every single point of product development. So it's nice. It's a great experience. I think you get to see everything from start to finish, and getting the finishing product is the end goal, and that's what everyone is happy with. You don't see all of the steps in between the, like P&Ls that you're talking about, or doing all of the admin. I always joke that being in product development, you're kind of like a glorified admin assistant because it's a lot of emails and chasing people. But once you've got the final product and everyone is happy, then that's the main thing.
Good stuff. So lots of experience there in regard to product development. And I love how you've spoken about the different elements that it entails. So for anyone in the room who's sort of like new to this concept of product development, and I'm wondering what is product development and what does it entail? So if you could expound on that, what is product development and why do you think it's important for businesses and startups?
So product development is important because it is the catalyst for everything else that you're going to do realistically. if you want to create a business that's going to be selling a product or a service to somebody, you need to know the reason why you're doing that. People will buy things or spend money or invest in things that are going to make their life easier, solve a problem, or that is going to be some kind of like enjoyment for them. That's going to be like a treat or a celebration for themselves. And it's their hard-earned money that they're going to be parting with. So you really need to make sure that you're coming up with a quality product. And even before that, I think it's very important to have a customer in mind. Like, who is your customer? Who exactly is it that you want to sell to? And you need to put yourself in their mindset so that you can create a perfect product for them. Early on in my career, I learned how to do that. And I think it's something that people take for granted. Yes, thank you. And I've definitely met people like along the way in my career that don't do that, and they just want to create things because they like it or they think it's a good idea. But when, as Marilyn mentioned, I was doing my industrial placement for Next, based out in Sri Lanka, my role was a product developer, and I was designing all these clothes, and I would send them over to my buyers. And for the first month or so, they weren't selecting anything, and I was getting really down about it. And I remember speaking to one of the other expats who I got very friendly with, and she's been a great friend and mentor to me within my career. She was their head of quality over there. And she just said to me, because I was saying to her, I really love these. I think they're so cute. I would buy them myself. And she was like, do you shop in Next? And I was like, no. Being 19 years old or whatever. No, I don't. And she was like, yeah, waiting for the penny to drop for me. And then I was like, I see. So I had to put myself in the shoes of the next customer, and I had to design them. And then I was flying, and I feel like it was great for me to learn that so early on in my career, because it's allowed me to be successful in doing those kinds of things. So really having a clear idea of who it is that you're going to sell to and why they need it. Answer those questions first, and then you can start developing products from that, I would say.
Yeah. With product development, like you said, I think it's very vast. I think a lot of people think it's just about the product specifically, but it can be broken down into stages. So initially, you've obviously got R&D, which is your ideation, coming up with the concept, coming up with the idea, what it looks like, how you want it to be perceived. Again, it's talking about the consumer who is going to be buying that product or buying that service. What gap is it that you're trying to fill in the market? What is going to be your USP? All of this is product development, as well as physical product. And then that comes more down to the project management element of it. So understanding your suppliers, where is it that you're going to launch? Who is it that you need to work with to get components or to get designs? What members of the team do you need to help bring this product to life, come to fruition? And I think that's another part of product development that's also really important, understanding everything that you actually need and who is it that you need to help you fulfill those things. You might be able to do everything on your own if you're lucky enough and blessed to do so, but also being able to understand what is it that I can't do and who is it that I need here to help me to do that. So I think that's the importance of product development, just being able to understand just everything that you need and who you need to help you to get through that.
Really good. You raised a point there about R&D. So I know lots of our cohort members are either at a point where they're developing a new line, developing a new project, trying to maybe fine-tune a service, considering different types of business models. So in regard to the R&D aspect, because you mentioned it, could you expound more on R&D, what that might entail, and why it's important to set aside time for R&D for anyone here?
Yeah. So again, I would say it's bringing it back to those initial questions.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you short. So R&D is research and development. Just expounding that for anyone that might be new to the term R&D. Okay.
Yes, research and development. So again, before you might have an idea that you think is really great. You just need to know who you're going to market it to and how you're going to do that. But say if you do already have one product and then you're wanting to expand on it, deciding how to expand, that is your research and development. So looking at what's currently in the market, what sells well. Like, can you actually get hold of sales data from somewhere that's telling you what is selling very well right now? Is there some kind of place that you can go to that gets trend insights and can tell you, well, actually in 2027, this is going to be really popular? Because you need time for your research and development. When I've worked in business, like, people will ask you, like, how long is it going to take to get this done? And it's like, how long is a piece of string around development? It could literally take as long or as short as you want to, and that's up to you. And how, well, I mean, there are some technical aspects to it, but also how thorough you want to be in it. You can do a lot of like focus groups, you know, you can ask your friends even to come try these. I don't know if it's like a food product or something, try these different flavors. If it's makeup, try these different colors. What do you like? Do you like the fragrances? All these kind of things, and get some research. Try and back it up with some kind of data as well. It might not always be easy to access if you're like on your own as an entrepreneur or outside of a business, because some of those things can be expensive. But I think like just getting online as well, you'll be able to find a lot of information around trends. So that's very important to do, because it kind of gives you more of like a backup, or maybe like of an assurity that this is going to be a product that is going to do well in the market. If you can see others that are doing, you know, well in the market, but you might have a different USP that you want to add to it. So the research and development stage is very important. The thing is as well with product development, especially in a business, like if you're a product developer, it's not a product creator. Like, you can develop forever and ever and ever, and nothing could ever see the light of day, because for one reason or another you could decide that it's not going to work. You might love the idea, but now it's not resonating with customers, or it's actually coming out too expensive, and you can't find a way of like cutting costs without compromising quality. So rather than pushing ahead, you just have to decide to file it away until you can find something else. So you can develop as much as you want. It doesn't mean that you always have to go through with every single idea, because it might not work. And also, like, there is that possibility, like, anyway. It's kind of sometimes like slinging mud at the wall and then seeing what sticks, and then using that gem to then expand on it. So if you had like a product range that you'd already released that had maybe 3 products in it, but like one of them is selling at like 4 times the rate of everything else, just expand that one. Don't expand everything, just expand that one, and then see how customers pick up on that. And then see how you can expand it more. Do they want more colours? Do they want more fragrances? Like, and then you can also phase out old products, you know, that you've had in the ranges and things like that. But that's definitely a good way and a good marker of like seeing where best to spend your money. If you're already seeing returns, it's like keep watering that, keep pouring on that, and sometimes you have to like cut the dead leaves off. So yeah, I would say that.
Yeah. Just on that, in terms of researching being the most important part, it really is the foundation, to be honest, when it comes to product development, because that's where you understand what you need to work on, what it is that you really want to do, what it is that works and what doesn't work, what is viable, what your costs are going to look like, how scalable is a product. All of that is in research and development. And I think a lot of people are so excited to get to just having the product that they rush through these steps of figuring out like how viable the product is, how feasible it is, what's the quality that you're going to work with, because obviously having quality ingredients or having quality products is the main thing that's going to make sure that you get customers coming back to you. Rushing a lot of these steps, unfortunately, makes the quality drop in a lot of product development. So making sure that the quality and the customer experience is the forefront of your research and development will help you in the long run for making sure that you've got longevity within your product. But yeah, I think trying not to go too fast to market also is so important, because not that you only have one chance, but a lot of the time it's your first impression to market is the one that sticks to consumers. Yes, there's an opportunity for you to either recall a product or you can like revamp your products, but that's a lot of time spent that is wasted, and money that you could have done by just taking a little bit of time to really perfect your craft or perfect your product. So in terms of making sure that research and development is done, I think is super key. I've worked like in the lab, that's all we do is research and development. We're looking at products that other businesses have on the market, what ingredients do they have in their products, what are their unique selling points that people seem to like and really love, what makes their product viable, what makes their product stable, because also rushing through a lot of things for development, you're unable to see how long like the stability of a perfume or a product is, how it's going to be over 10 months, 12 months, a year, on 3 years on the shelf. So time is needed to make sure that your product is great. And I think we shouldn't rush things. It's like we say anyway, like trying to rush things and doing things in our own timing. And instead of just waiting for God to show you how it's supposed to be or following God's timing, I think it's the same when it comes to research development. You just need to do it when it's supposed to be instead of forcing it. And I think you can tell when you're forcing something because things don't go well or you start to feel anxious, it doesn't feel right. I think it's at that point that you need to just stop, take a minute, take fate of like what you've got with what's working, what isn't working, and then regroup and then continue.
I would also like to add to that, just in terms of when you're like kind of coming up with your idea and planning, because obviously a lot of you are like small business owners or entrepreneurs, and you're obviously spending your own money doing these kinds of things. Say if you had like £5,000 to spend on it, don't think this product's going to cost me £5,000, I'm going to spend the £5,000 on this product. Think about testing. Think about things that you might need to pay for around that. So you can't just go to a business and then just like, a manufacturer or something and trust what they're giving you. Ask them, like, are you going to be doing the testing in this as well? Is that included in the cost? Because you may need things around that. Your marketing budgets and things like that as well. You can't sell a product that nobody knows exists. So you need to think about those kinds of things when you're planning on a product. How are you going to launch it? Where are you going to launch it? How are you going to be getting it out there? And also thinking about like accreditations or certifications that might go with that product that might help you sell it into somewhere. I remember one business that I was working for, we were developing an SPF, and we really wanted to, that was very difficult slog doing that anyway, but at the time, we also had our eye on boots. We wanted to go into boots as a retailer. So we also started working on getting the certification of the star rating. So the star rating on SPFs is actually something that Boots developed, and it's only with them. So I started doing the research on that beforehand so that we could get that certification with them, so we could put that on our packaging, so that when we went to Boots to present it to them, we already had their star rating on it. So it was a better way for us to sell into them. So also think, where do you want your product to go and how are you going to sell it to that person, and invest in that as well. Because like it might cost you half of the money that you've got, but if you can launch it in there, you're going to boom, rather than like adding it into this product and then no one ever seeing it.
So good. So both of you talked about timing. And just before I come to that, we're going to have a time for questions. So if you have any questions, you can have that down, and we're going to have time for some Q&A. And that also goes to the online, to anyone joining in online. There's going to be time for Q&A. So is anyone here in the room considering or in the process of creating a new product or creating a new service? Show of hands. Good. All right, so you touched on timing, and I know for lots of our founders, there's always thinking around when is the right time, so that you think about, am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? Because the reality is the market is competitive. You want to go in right at the right time. You don't want to be too slow because your competitors might be able to catch up. You don't want to be too fast because of the mistakes that you mentioned. So when does someone know the right time when it comes to developing that product and launching it to market?
So I think there's a number of things to consider when it comes to launching. Obviously, product specific, the time of year. So if it's going to be a seasonal product, or if it's for a specific celebration or moment in time, then you can consider when you want to launch within the calendar. Having a date that you want to launch is ideal, but then you work backwards in terms of your development. So having an understanding of timelines also, in terms of how long it takes for production, how long it takes for sourcing, how long it's going to take for you to do design, having these individual milestones and timelines, and then working backwards from your proposed date and see, okay, I need to start working from X. If you know it's going to take you 52 weeks to do something, and starting from now, 52 weeks onwards, is going to be way past your deadline date, then that's obviously not going to work. So if that makes sense. So having the date and working backwards to see where you needed to be at that point. Or again, if you already have all the finalized numbers, going forwards to see, okay, in 52 weeks it's going to be X. Am I happy to launch then? Does that work for my product or the timeline that I wanted to do? So when it comes to timelines, that's how we'd normally work with product development, to work back from where we wanted to launch and figure out where we are and how quickly then we have to move. And that way you can decide on whether there are things that you can skip, if there are, or things that you can expedite so that you can move faster, or if it's a case of, do you know what, we've missed it at this point, so we need to figure out how we want to relaunch or what our new date is for launching.
Yeah, I would pretty much second everything that Paida said there. I think having a launch time in mind is very important. And again, it does depend on the product, because I've worked for a company where we had different brands, and each of the brands stood for a different thing. So like some of the brands were really like about the product. We were very like science-based. We were very like innovative. We wanted to do a lot of research around it. So there'd be a lot of development, and there would be a lot of testing. There would be user trials, so they would take longer. Whereas we had another brand that we used to call like a fast fashion brand. So we needed to be on to trends. So we wouldn't be too risky with the formulas that we would use. We would kind of use tried and tested things, and then we would do it in like the new seasonal color and make sure that we got it out in time. Like also, I think that TikTok these days is like super reactive. Products can go crazily viral on there, like I've seen loads of businesses do it. So sometimes launch times, like if you miss the boat, like Paida was saying, like when it's something that's very like a quick and trend, sometimes it is better to let it go rather than start investing in money into it. And then you're sat on product that is going to not be relevant to consumers anymore, because trends do happen quite quickly. So if you are more of a trendy brand, you have to be aware of that, like how quickly can you turn it around? Whereas if it's kind of like more of like an everyday product, make sure that you're doing the right testings and things like that, like we were saying before, to make sure that you've got a good quality product so that people are going to want to rebuy for that reason. Because there are two different reasons why people will come. It's for quality, or it's because it's going to be like on trend and you're going to have it first. You want to be like a market leader, or you want to have a good quality product in the market. So I think you have to build your timelines around those types of things.
I was going to say, just on what you're saying, yeah, it depends on your product, because I have worked with businesses where we want to be fast to the market. It doesn't have to be the absolute best quality. It's just standard so that we can get it out quickly. And that's fine. That's the brand that works for them and that sells. And they're not necessarily looking for consistently having customers to come and buy back. Like you're saying, it's a trend. People like it, they forget about it, and they move on. And that's okay, and that works. But yeah, and it does make money. Or you want to have that high quality product. You want to have the consumers that will come back to you. You want to build a community. You want to have just that kind of like family feel and people that will vouch for your product. Yes, that can take a little bit longer, but then it's worth it in the long run, because you've got the longevity of that product. So I think it comes back down to research and development, understanding what product you want to sell, who the consumer is, what is your timeframes in terms of turning things around, how quickly you can get to market, like you've said, Robin, and just what's important to you. What are your principles as a business? That's really the fundamentals of it. What's important to you in terms of your brand, the people, the customer, the consumer, and then you can decide, okay, are we happy to just rush this through? And then that's fine. And then we have other products that are a little bit longer, because you can mix it between having some that are going to be your hero products that you spend a lot more time on, and then you have others that are kind of like buy-in products that you can just get people to come in. So it's balanced. I feel like we've just said, I'm not sure. It depends. It depends how long is a piece of string. But just having those kind of stage gates and milestones and understanding how long each and every process takes, I think is the most important part for your timelines, then to figure out where you can launch. And then going back to your product, and the consumer can help you decide the overall like calendar spot that you want to launch in and whether that works or not.
Oh, really good. So we've spoken up quite a bit about the product or the business or the founder or the entrepreneur. Let's talk about people and teams. Yeah. Actually, I was just having a chat with Rob before this, and he was telling me how managing people at this time of the year can be quite hectic. And Nikki and Rob know a lot about HR and managing people. But what we also know is, as founders, when you're doing any kind of product development, including a service, you won't do it by yourself. There's probably going to be a team. Maybe you're managing suppliers from China. You're managing some kind of team that's doing R&D, marketing people. You have all these different people that are coming in together. So from a leadership perspective, how then, or any tips on how to lead a team through product development to make sure there's a successful launch?
Yeah, so I have 3 keys that I live by, and one of them is communication. So communication is key to whoever you're working with. If you're a business owner and you're developing a product and you're investing your money into it, you need to be very, very clear and specific with everybody what your requirements are, and be really stern about that as well. I feel like you need to be as detailed as possible in your requirements from different people, especially when you're sourcing. Ask a lot of questions if you're working with a new supplier. It's very important to do your due diligence around those types of things, and clearly specify what it is that you need from the product, what your end goal is. If you have any kind of designs, mood boards, anything like that to give them, and really communicate that through to them, especially if you're working with suppliers that are global. Like Marilyn said, if it's China suppliers, there's always going to be language barriers. So I will sometimes send pictures of things, or take a picture of I don't know, if I was it needs to be these Ziplocs, and I would take a picture and send it to them, just so everything's really clear, and reconfirm things and get things in writing. If you have a telephone conversation with someone, I would say this for if this is managing your own people, if this is outside people, if you have a telephone conversation with people, or if you have an in-person meeting with people, always follow that up in writing, and that protects you and that protects the other person as well, and it makes everything clear. If something was misunderstood, once you've then reconfirmed that via an email, if there is something that's unclear, that's their opportunity to come back and clarify that. If it doesn't get clarified, then that means you're moving on in this way. So if they want to try and change their mind later, we refer back to the email. Yes, exactly. So yeah, I would say communication to everybody is good in leadership. And like I said, I do feel you have to be a little bit stern about it, especially when it's your money and stuff that you're spending. You don't want anybody messing about with it. But I think being open to communicate from both sides as well. So if it's your own employees, you need to communicate with them on a level that they know that they can communicate back with you as well. And there can be that honesty, which is actually my second key. So yeah, having that honest and transparent communication as much as possible is going to help you get the best that you need out of things as well. It kind of links back to the timelines as well, because if you're clear and open about your timelines and you're going to a supplier and you're saying, I want to launch in 20 weeks, and they're saying, well, this is going to take 25 weeks, you can't launch then. So just being very clear and honest around what it is that you require and being as detailed as possible. So you need to have that real clear picture in mind.
Yeah, everything that Robin said. When it comes to detail, and as a business owner, or as you're the one who's making the product, you said about being open. I think you also still need to be open-minded in terms of understanding how things work, or how things are going to function, how other people work, how teams work individually. You can be stern, sure, in terms of what you want and what your requirements are, but you need to be also open to have a little bit of leeway in case things don't work exactly how you expect them to. Because that's usually, I think, with business owners, you have an idea that's going to work out like this is how I've planned it, I'm going to have X, Y, and Z, and then you are going to, I suppose, the professionals at this point, and they're the ones who are supposed to be able to advise you. So being open to actually hear what is being told to you or what's being advised to you and taking that on is also very important, because then it helps in terms of having the relationships with your suppliers, because no one wants to work with someone who doesn't listen and is just demanding X, Y, and Z, which is really unachievable and just makes everybody else really stressed. It's not a nice working environment to be in. Been in it. It's not enjoyable. So yeah, that open dialogue and being able to hear no. Sometimes the answer is going to be no, and you just have to be able to accept that sometimes, and then figure out, okay, how do we pivot? What can we do next? What is it that we can do to try and get to X and have a little bit of leeway there? I think that's important when it comes to leadership. And then just understanding who you're working with, because at the end of the day, if you have a really good working relationship with your team, you have a good working relationship with suppliers, you have a happier working environment, people want to work with you, people want to do well for you, people want to see you do well. So it's just about being a nice person. Still be stern. You can still be stern, but like, be just a pleasant person to be around. Be someone that people want to speak well about. People that like want to be around you, and make sure that you do well, and them doing well is an example of you doing well. It's just be nice. Just be like Jesus.
Can I go back on that? Sorry. Yeah, no, I was talking about like kind of your product and your ideas and about that. But yeah, definitely, like as Pida is saying, like when you're working with people, yes, you need to be clear and like in what you're communicating towards them, but having a good working relationships is really important, whether that's someone that you're outsourcing to or whether it's one of your own employees. Like again, like building that trust with them so that they feel like there is that like open line of communication. You can understand what they need, how you get the best out of them, because really that's what you want to do, to encourage the best out of everybody. So everybody's working towards a common goal and everybody wants to do well. Like, I really love giving feedback and praise like at the point in time of like when people are doing it and like lifting people up around that, you know, just being super appreciative, grateful, thankful to the people around you who are helping you. And also, as Pida said, really being open to listening. I feel like sometimes when we talk, we take things for granted because we've been in it for so long, but coming like from the outside in, there probably are loads of things that you won't know. So again, having that communication, really understanding what it is that somebody's going to be able to supply to you and whether your ideas, you know, really are feasible or not. So yeah, I think it's that give and take. Yeah, definitely give and take, because with product development, once you get to the production like part of it, and you've got timelines rushing in at you, you need to like lean on people, like get them to do favors for you and things like that. If you treat them mean and you're always putting on them, they're not going to want to do those things for you. So it really is give and take, like where you can give people time, you know, I don't know. So when you're working on a critical path, say, for example, if you always gave the designers 2 weeks to get like any brief done, there could be a time when you actually don't need it back, or you're working on something ahead of time. So you could be like, yeah, take your time on that one, and then they'll remember it next time. So I would say that gratitude as well. Yeah.
Love that. Be like Jesus. Yeah. Gratitude and gratitude and knowing how to work well with people. I also like the point about pivoting, because you'll always change stuff. Things happen along the way. Risks happen. Going back 2019, who knew a year from then COVID would happen and change how lives are going on. Now we have AI taking over lots of things. Who knows what's going to happen? I know some people here as well, and the point of pivoting into something new. Catherine, I know you're pivoting into a new service within your business, so that's really good. So let's get some examples and your advice on some actual products. So in front of you, you have some products. Everybody can see that. That is from one of our lovely cohort alumni, and she's still very active in the community, Elizabeth. So Elizabeth is the founder of Temi African Groceries, and she's done an amazing job. Like, she sells her products across several grocery stores all over the UK. So she's really doing amazing. So, and I know she's online. Hi, Elizabeth. So based on what you can see in front of you, and I know Elizabeth is working on new lines and new packaging as well. So based on your experience and based on what you see, is there any advice or anything, you know, any thoughts on the products you're seeing?
I mean, I think it looks like a great product, honestly. There's like clear communication on the packaging. If I can just talk about the design of the packaging straight off, you can kind of see, just even from this, that she's done at the top, the design here, you can kind of see what the product is, what it's like kind of about. And then obviously she's got like the picture of Africa on here, so you kind of know these are African food products. Like the clear symbols here, so you can see like the spice levels and things like that. That's clear communication. Again, she's got like these certifications down the side, which will be things that she's had tested or like signed off, and she's put them on the front of her packet, so it's kind of like that boot star rating that I was talking about before. These are easy sign points so that someone can see them. Oh, look, it's gluten-free, I can eat this. Do you know what I mean? So like that's going to speak to a product, to a customer straight away, like right off the shelf. It's got timings on it, so it makes it easy for the consumer. There's loads of information on the back, like obviously you've got to have your nutritional information, like so she'll have had all of that done and signed off. But then there's also like the brand information. So she's got her like YouTube channels. That's great. That loops people back into you, so that going through your brand, they're buying your products, they're watching your videos. They're going to be like, raising your subscribers, your views. It's going to get you more visibility. That's such a smart thing to put on there. There's like a QR code that you can scan as well. Again, super accessible, easy for customers to loop them back in. And that's what you want to be doing with your products as well, looping them back in. Like, how else can you get this into their hands as much as possible, like as though it's like a lifestyle thing? So they're going to use this product to cook. Then, when they're at home, they've got time, like they might just sit on YouTube looking at those videos. It's keeping the brand in mind always. So there's some really great points. And then also just like having the images of the food on there as well. So if people who aren't familiar with it, they've got some kind of idea of what it is. So I think it's communicating really well on the packaging. I think it's been designed really, really well. And it's clear and easy to read as well. So it is really nice. Yeah, I think it's good from my point of view. Very good.
I mean, I agree. I agree with everything that you said. Just in terms of space, I suppose, at the back, because she's got her YouTube channel and information there. When you scan the code, it takes you directly to there. So just in terms of maybe like saving space on the back, that can be removed. But other than that, I agree with everything that Robin has said. It's a nice product. Elizabeth's not here, as you know.
Elizabeth is online.
Well done, Elizabeth.
Yeah, and good. And again, for context, those are different types of spices that Elizabeth sells.
Yeah.
She's part of the community, so she may pop in at some point in time. But yeah, she's definitely online. So we've seen a product. I know we have people here that are doing a service, which will definitely be very different from a product. We're going to use Ria's example. So Ria, do you want to just give a very short summary about Inspire 3-1, and then they can give you any advice? I know with Ria, you're looking into developing online and subscription-based services, and in line with product development as well. So just very briefly, and then they can give you some thoughts. I'm going to give you.
So I am a special educational needs consultant and parent advocate. My main aim of the business is to equip and empower parents, carers and professionals to effectively advocate for children with special educational needs who could or may have special educational needs. So I am moving into a digital space. I am currently in the process of creating, on the back of the work that I do and customer research, etc., creating a digital platform where there'll be an app and a digital platform where we'll do courses for parents and carers to teach them the tools. So I've got a 7-step framework, so teach them the tools through the 7-step framework on how to effectively advocate within the special educational needs system. So that's where the business is moving into. And yes, so we're doing a lot of development and testing around that. The the way I'm doing lead generation into that is that I've created a quiz around the 7-step framework that's free for parents to take the quiz. And then that will then, once they've got the results, there's individual specific results for different stages of their advocacy journey. And then that will lead to telling them more about the different products and the course that's up and coming in January.
That sounds lovely. It's very good work that you're doing. So before, how I was speaking about, there's usually like 2 reasons why people purchase. It's because of like enjoyment/entertainment, or to solve a problem. So obviously you're solving a problem. So I feel like in the digital space, like you've already got like what you want to do, the product. It's kind of like the marketing around that and how you get people aware of that. That's going to be really key and important. So you obviously know who your customer is very well. You obviously are very in their mindset, so you can speak to them. You need to understand how to get this product under their noses, in their hands, so that they can utilize it. If you're doing a course on it, from what I'm understanding, I guess the course is for a certain amount of time, and then is the use of the app done from that, or? Okay, so it's again about that looping to keep them subscribing to it. Obviously you want to help the people, but you still want to be getting paid off that and making money from that. So I would say looking at community within that app that you're providing, that really keeps people bought into things like that. I would say from my own experience, my Fitbit app that I had, and registrations and things like that, I keep going with them for the community spaces that are within there, and what you can get and what you can utilize. Also, there's other subscriptions that I have that I've had for years now, and I use it once a day, and I'll never stop paying for it because I know I use it once a day. So if there's things on there that people can access, that they can use, that's going to help them on a day-to-day basis, they will keep subscribing to those things. So I think that's definitely where you kind of need to be focused for that product, meeting people's needs, and then also definitely do as many feedback and focus groups as you can, so that you know how to keep upgrading that app or giving people what they need from it, and just definitely be flexible with the movement of that product as you go along in time and more people start utilizing it, because it is something that people will need, and I think it's a very good product and service to have for people. So yeah, that's what I would advise.
Yeah, I would just second that in terms of community. My sister and I have work in it's Women Vision, it's called, and it's for women in business and professional spaces, and we host groups and events for them to come to, and we've just launched an app for it. And in there, again, it's having that community aspect, having blogs, posts and things that people can read, having spaces that people can post, almost like Instagram, but having it for your community and the people that are in there, and having topics and things that people can engage with. I think that's something that'd be super helpful to have within the app, just again, to make sure that people feel like they want to come and check on the app and what's happening in the app there to keep them engaged. I think that's super important.
Really good. Fantastic. So we've gotten some insight into food. I know we have people here in the food industry. We've gotten some insight into a service-based company, a service-based in regard to a training company. I'm going to pick on beauty now. We're going to go with Lisa. We all know Lisa. I mean, I know you two, you both know Lisa and Spagnum Deluxe. She's done an incredible job already having products. And if she's considering working on new lines and new packages, any thoughts on what Lisa could do?
On new lines.
New lines, new products.
So I guess similarly to what we mentioned earlier in terms of figuring out what kind of is your hero product, what is the one that does the best, and figuring out ways that you could almost diversify that, whether it's going to be a new scent or if it's a new specific ingredient that you want to add to it so that it's slightly different from something previous. Just making several versions of the same thing. It sounds really silly, but all the big businesses do it. You just make several versions of the exact same thing, slightly tweaked to have different needs and requirements for different skin types, that type of example. Then you can also look at just packaging, anything that maybe perhaps you've seen as like flaws or issues that you've had previously, revamping your packaging so that the quality of it is improved. That helps again with retaining consumers because they feel heard if there's been any maybe feedback that you've received from them about packaging, making changes to it. Also maybe just having a new look and revamping the brand depending on how long it's been out for, if you want to just kind of have a new phase for the brand as well when it comes to packaging. What else?
I would also say, like in the beauty space, depending on what the product is, beauty consumers are really clued up now. They like want to know what ingredients are in things. So as well as like your new product development, I think like going back and looking at the products that you already have, like how can you improve them? Can you take like sulfates out of this now, or cleaning it up and then communicating that to your customers? I've seen some really good responses from that because consumers feel like you really care about them. You're not just leaving them with something else. So you can literally relaunch the same product that you've got and it's new and improved and people are like, wow, this is amazing, I need to rebuy it, it's a better version. And it just shows that you care for your customers, that you're not just using them like as a cash cow all of the time, because you can definitely do that as well. Like Pi was saying, like having flankers and easy add-ons, like that's so easy to do in beauty, like especially like just changing the color of packaging and re-releasing like the same lip gloss. Like if it's, I don't know, millennial pink that's like out right now, do it and people will buy it because they want to have that in their handbag. But then you can really do things where you like improve like your formulations as well. So like I would say that would be something, depending on your range, that you could possibly look at. Say if you was going to do, like if you was at the point in time where you needed to do a reorder of any specific products now, look at how you can improve them and then make a brand story around that. Because again, as we were saying at the beginning, when you're doing your product development, you're putting yourself in the mindset of your consumer and you're really doing it from their point of view. So I would advise that as well.
Really good. Really good, and especially because I know both of you have worked in beauty and cosmetics. So Lisa, these are your people. Good. So we have some time for some questions. Anyone has a question? And I'm just going to pass the mic around.
Well done, ladies. Absolutely stunning, gorgeous. And I feel like we could just go on in this space. I'd love for you to just do a bit of a walkthrough, because in this space, in this community, everyone's at all different stages. And you guys are workplace leaders, so you know about a company saying, we're going to try this or we're going to test this. And you do all the functionings of the budgeting, the thought leadership, the process in regards to your founders or CEOs could say, actually, I want this on the shelf within 4 or 5 months. And there's a bit of pushback on there. So it's a long question, but I'd really love for you to just spend a little time talking about when a company's just starting and they're thinking, yeah, we can do it all, we can make these things happen, some of the pits in that, and also about the finances in that, because any sort of product development is a huge cost, risk, reward, and you've done some great detail in there on how to make that product go in the market and do well. In this community, sometimes people do it really wrong. They spend a lot of money on something that's not ready to go into the market. A long question, but I'd love for you to even spend a few minutes just on that. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So I would say, again, it's kind of about that push and pull. So taking the example that you gave there, if you have someone that says this product needs to go to launch in 4 to 5 months, you need to look at in your timeline, you should always have a critical path and a timeline that you're like working on. And you need to take everything into consideration. And you also need to give yourself buffer time, because things will go wrong. Nothing will go to plan at all. Like, it's just never going to happen that way. So make sure you have your buffer time in there. But if you do have tight timelines that you're looking at like that, and say if this was me doing it and my CEO had asked me and he wants to launch this in like 4 or 5 months, what do I have to what is essential to do within there. So like testing, it's essential. We cannot rush that, because the last thing that you want to do is have a product that now isn't stable or isn't tested properly, and you then have to recall it. It's possible. And the brand damage, especially if you're a new brand, like, it's just dead in the water if you're like launching this as your first product and then you're going to have to pull it out. Like, it's not great. And then there goes your investment. That was like your one chance, like kind of what Pida was saying before. Sometimes it might just be that you have that one chance. There might be other areas in the critical path where you can pinch and flex. So again, like I was saying before, hopefully you've kept your suppliers sweet. They might be able to put you at the front of the queue. When you communicate to them, you tell them what your launch dates are. Is it possible to do that? You know, and just have that information from the get-go. I feel like managing expectations is a really big thing as well, because if it really can't be done, you need to know how to pivot, or you need to know how to stagger that launch or phase that later on in some kind of way. But I think it's definitely important at the beginning, once you have that product in mind, to have your critical path, ask all your questions from all of your departments, from all of your touch points that it may go to. So say for me, if I was developing a beauty product, I would have to go to the lab, I would have to go to regulations, I would have to go to design, I would have to go to logistics, I would have to go to outside suppliers, I would have to go to marketing, I would have to go to sales, I would have to go to social. So this is what we mean when you say that you're the linchpin. You have to go to all these people and communicate all these things. You then need to consider them. How much time do they need for these things? What is their like workflows looking like at the moment? You know, you don't want to bottleneck people and send everything through at one time, and then you've got a big delay in things. So you just need to understand where everybody is and make sure that that flow can happen before you press go. Do not start doing anything until your whole critical path is sorted out, and then you can start it, because you don't want to get like halfway down and then you just have to take a big break or a big pause, because that will cost you money as well. So definitely getting your critical path sorted out like right at the beginning before you like jump into anything, I would say.
Yeah, I completely agree. And having that critical path as well, it's important to understand everything that you need. I think even just making a checklist, like when I start a project, I go through, okay, compliance, this is what I need. Packaging, this is what I need. Formulation, this is what I need. This is what I'm going to need for testing. And just having a list for every single milestone and every single step that's needed within that critical path, so that you can check that off when things get done. And then also you can look at the things that you can start at the same point and work across simultaneously, or you can look at what are your dependables. Like if I start X on this day and it takes 2 weeks for me to do this and I can then not start B because of it, then you can see that clearly because you've got your list and understanding what is depending on what. I think that's the main link to the critical path. So understanding all of the timelines, but also making sure that you understand every single milestone within each, and understanding who needs to do what for each section and what is dependent on what being completed first. Just so you have an idea of how your project is actually working. And making sure that you have stage gates. I think it's really important so that you can understand, okay, stage gate 1 is going to take me the first month and I'm going to be able to achieve X, Y, Z in this time. And that way you can gauge when it gets to the end of the month, okay, we're behind by 2 weeks or we're behind by 1 week, and you can clearly identify what it is that has delayed you, and then figure out, again, how to pivot, or what it is that you need to take time or reduce timelines somewhere else if it's necessary. So yeah, just having an overview on your timelines is really the most important thing when it comes to product, because it's time is money. At the end of the day, time is money, and we need to make sure that we're being most efficient with it when in development.
Just also on that, time is money. So if you need to save time, you will be spending money. If production takes 90 days and it takes, there's nothing you can do about it. But shipping can take 40 days if you put it on the sea. But if you put it in the air, it's going to take 5 days. But can you afford to put it in the air? So you're either going to pay with your time or your money. Both of them are currency. So you just need to work out how you can bend and flex those things when you're working on your critical paths. Yeah.
Any other question from the audience or from our online community? Okay, I'm going to go to Maria because she has a hand up, and then I'm going to come to you and to Rob.
All right, thanks. Thank you so much, ladies. That was absolutely awesome. So insightful. And just a comment that moving into business as a business leader, the dependency on outsourcing and not having those competencies in-house. And do you recommend that as a business, it's good to have maybe an expert in each of those different areas? So you've mentioned compliance, you've mentioned, your operations or whoever your logistics teams. Do you think it's good to maybe have an in-house person for each of those areas, or to purely outsource those capabilities? And then the next question is, you talked about future insights, so looking at what trends may be, say, in 3 to 5 years' time. But is there ever a good business case to decide whether or not you've got the right customer? There's a lot about values and sustainability. So how do you find who is the right customer for your business and for your values?
Okay, for the first question, I would say no. I don't think you need to have expertise in-house. A lot of the businesses that I've worked with, we outsource services. So whether that is testing or help with compliance, usually testing, to be honest, when it comes to those things. You don't need to have somebody in-house who does it specifically. One, because of cost. And secondly, again, it depends capacity, your overheads, where you are, if you've got a building, if you're not, if you've got people that you're working with. So it's not necessary to have them in, but it's just something that you need to consider and budget for when you're outsourcing, because usually there can be like a premium cost for that. I would also say what is important is to have someone in-house that knows what it is that you need to outsource. So instead of having individual experts for everything that needs to be done, is having one person or two specifically that know what it is that you need and who it is that you need to go to find X, because then that would help you in terms of finding out everything that you need.
Yes, I would agree for question one. No, you don't need those. You can pay people to do that. I would look at doing full service. That's great. Like if you want to get like a product completely done, like there are companies who will do complete full service. So they will work on your, like if it's just one product, they'll work on the product. If it's a new brand, they'll work on the brand, they'll work on the marketing. They can do everything for you and they will be experts in that and they can give you a good product. They'll do all the testing, they'll do all of the like responsible person things, obviously depending on what the product is, if you need those kinds of testings, whatever, but you can pay for full service to get that done. So it might be a little bit more expensive, but not really a lot. Like I know the company that we worked at together, we used to do loads of free design work for other companies and we would send it out for free. I always used to be like, why aren't we charging for this? But it's what we used as a hook in that company to get people coming back to us because they could get that design insight. So seeing what you can get from those companies, because as you were saying, like looking at the trends and things like that, they can be expensive to pay for if you're not just researching them yourself, whereas companies have access to that. So getting as much as you can from the companies that you're working with. So I would say do full service and just go to at least 3 different full service suppliers and then compare, give them all the brief of what it is that you want to do, see what it is that they can provide for you, look at their timings, look at their costs, make a comparison and then make your own educated decision as to going forward with that. Can you repeat question 2? Oh, so that was the trends one. Your second question.
Thanks for the answers. The second question was around how can you find who are the right customer group for you based on your values and so on?
How do you find them? How do you find them? Like in terms of marketing? Or how do you determine it? So that's for you to make up, because you're making the product for a specific person and then the product's there, they're going to find it because you've made it for somebody who already exists. You've made it for a problem or a reason that people are going to want to buy it. So as long as you have that in mind and you are steadfast with that, especially when you're launching, because people nowadays, like, Owner-led brands do so well these days. So make yourself that person. Put your face on the packet. Put yourself on the social media. Tell them who you are. Tell them why you came up with this idea, and they will find you. And that will be your base. And you will create a community around that because you're being honest, you're being transparent, you're creating a product out of a need. And it's you talking. You can talk about your brand story. You are that. You can talk about your development in there. How you went and found your suppliers, or why it was important for you to create this product. And those people will come to you.
Thank you so much for sharing the knowledge. So I have a question about people who working in the pure service industry. Like, for example, I'm doing digital marketing, so I'm at a really early stage that I not necessarily need a digital platform, but purely offering services or knowledge as my products. So with this kind of industry, is there anything that we want to be is different? Is there anything different from when you're developing a tangible products? And also for service-based, how could we differentiate ourselves to be more outstanding compared to our competitors? Yeah. Thank you.
So I think with service brands or products, like I was saying to Ria before, it is about marketing a lot, because there's not a tangible product that's going to be on a shelf. You're offering a service, so you need to put yourself in the places where those people that need that service are going to be. Where is your marketing investment going to go? And then you do need to have a USP. So you tell me why you're different than everybody else. You tell me why you're better than your competitors. You tell me why I should spend my money with you. That's what you need to be communicating, so that people will come to you for the service. It's the same things with products anyway, you know what I mean? There's, I don't know how many brands and flavors of crisps on the shelves, but why are you going back to that one? Because it's something that you want. So you need to make people want to come back to you or come and try you for the first time and then not leave. So you need to think about your USP and how you're going to, and then also that's your brand story and your USP there, but also look at the market. You need to fit in, but you need to stand out. So people need to see your logo and they need to identify oh, that's an IT company. But I don't know, the colors are hot pink and lime green. It's poppy, it's cute. I want to go with that. Do you know what I mean? Make yourself recognizable, but different. People need to understand what you do, but you want to stand out. So that's what I would say, because your brand, your logo is going to be your service. People need to be able to see it and identify what it is. It's that turquoisey blue now. It's Uber Eats. You see it around everywhere, Deliveroo. Do you know what I mean? Something that resonates with you so that people will remember you, come back to it. Yeah.
You said, oh, that was great.
Okay, so I know there might be other questions, but in the interest of time, because we still have some amazing things to get through tonight, we will pause there. We are going to take a 5-minute break, and should you have any pressing questions, you can use those 5 minutes to ask those questions to our guest speakers. But yeah, how did you find that? Amazing? Good. Woohoo! All right, so a very big thank you to our guest speakers today. We've learned so much. I've learned so much, and we are just so blessed that you managed to create time to come and speak with us today. I know you're part of the sisterhood. Yes, so for the ladies in the house, if you join the sisterhood, which is part of our community, you can also get to interact with Robin and Paida. Good, all right.
Sorry, I would just add, if you want to talk to us at any time, you can find us in the group or add us on LinkedIn and stuff like that. We might not be in your specific industry, but if there is anything just on a level that you might need to know, and you could just ask the question, we'll be more than happy to help any of you.
All right, so thank you so much. So 5 minutes break, everybody, and then we come back for another session.